Hey guys, what's going on? It's Pito. We're back doing a little different video. I got a Sky Striker Runick guide for you today. If you've been on Facebook or follow me on any of Twitter or even checked out some of my videos before, you know that I play this deck a lot. I've been testing it for a couple weeks. I just got back from regionals where I was playing purely, and if you hear my cat in the background, I'm sorry. But yeah, I just got back from regionals playing purely. I didn't play this. I've been kind of waiting for the second engage to come back, and this is a consideration for Nats. But I just want to give y'all a guide out there because some people don't really like to talk about it. I know popularity of the deck's picked up since DB Grinder, and even he talked about how the deck's kind of hard to play. So I kind of just wanted to give you my take on the deck. Mine's definitely different than a lot of other people's. So if you've ever played the game Magic, I love Yu-Gi-Oh players love hearing that. Have you ever played Magic? I built this deck with the idea of being very similar to a deck in Magic called Blue White Control, and I'll get into what that means and kind of the play style for it, afterwards. But for right now, I just kind of want to go over the card by card and give you my explanations of why I'm playing what I am and my choices. And if any time, drop in a comment if you got suggestions, concerns, or if I just give you a bad ruling. I just started playing Yu-Gi-Oh again after playing Magic for a long time, so I get a little bit of my rulings mixed up here and there. So, let's get right into it. So first, you'll see one of each of the striker. So you have one ace, one rose. I've been testing one ray, no ray, and I think I just like the one ray, even though she can kind of be a little bit of a brick sometimes. You can still pitch her for Hugin to search the field spell, and the one of is just like really good for rezzing her out of the graveyard. But if she gets banished, with a bestial that's running around this format, it's not that big of a deal. And I kind of added the rose in because I had a extra spot available, and I wanted to try, the consistency of doing the linkage OTK in this deck. Since closing games is the biggest weakness of this deck, it's just a way so you try to OTK and not go into time. So yeah, we got one of each. Rose, I might drop in the future depending on how it plays out. I haven't got much testing with her in it yet, but the theory's there. And then I have two afterburner. I've been missing the second afterburner for a while now during my testing. So when Engage came back to two, and I decided I was going to start playing a bigger Sky Striker package, I said, you know what, let's go ahead and bump afterburners back up to two. It's such a good card, and it's been really good for me. We got three Widow Anchor. It's the standard. It's kind of the whole point of playing the Sky Striker engine. And then we got two multi-roll. I know it's back at three, but you really don't want to play three. In fact, the deck draws a lot and searches enough that you might only need to play two. But we're testing with two, or sorry, you might only need to play one, but we're testing with two. And so far, I'm liking two, but honestly, I don't like it more than when I played one. I don't know, I just need to do more testing with it. Two engage, obviously, whole huge for the deck, huge for pure striker. You know, it's easily one of the best cards ever printed. Three linkage. I know some Sky Striker lists have been cutting it down to two, and I think that's just objectively wrong. The card's absolutely insane, and when I start getting into like some of the plays you can do, this card just allows you to play through too much stuff. A lot of interaction that's being played right now, linkage can get around. Destruction, and okay, so we'll move into the runic package. We got three destruction, three flashing fire, two runic fountain, three freezing curses, three slumber, three and three tip. So, looking at the runic list, no, I am not playing golden droplet. I think that card is complete booty cheeks. I would only ever play it if I'm playing in the Trickstar engine because I wanted to reincarnation droll someone during their standby phase. That would be the only time I would want to play this card. I do not like it. One thing I really like about the deck is how every card has utility, and this one does not have any. So I don't play it. I know you're supposed to use it to summon the monster, but I don't care. I'm not playing it. I'm not playing Dispelling. It doesn't really do a whole lot for me, and I'd rather just stick to like fill that slot with something else. And then Smiting Storm, honestly, this is the one that I was playing the like I wanted to play the most, but I've been trying without it. The deck does draw an absolute insane amount of cards, so the chances of you, needing that extra runic name is little to none, but you can easily add this back in. And if you want to add back in Dispelling, you can. There's no major reason why I'm not playing them. I just kind of wanted the space for other stuff because this is a very tight list. And then we get into the non-engine. I play 3 Lava Golem. The only normal summon in the deck are the Curry Bandits and the 2 Sky Striker Ace monsters. So we weren't always, and for a while I wasn't even playing 2. So Lava Golem was like, I don't care if I use if it eats my normal summon. It's here in case you lose the die roll, which you will a lot, or at least I will. Um, and so yeah, it just outs a lot of fields. If you want to side kaiju's or side sphere modes, go for it. But for right now, I find Lava Golem in the main has been really good for me. And if you go first, you can just pitch it. It's not that big of a deal. And then 3 Curry Bandit. And so this is like the spiciest tech ever. And a lot of people question this card because it is bait for every single hand trap in the game, but I think the card's absolutely bonkers. And when we start getting into some of the plays you can do, it's you'll kind of see why I play it. It is definitely cuttable. You can cut it. I just don't want to, so I'm not going to. And I've just been enjoying it. Every time I summon it, people just it just puts a smile on their face. So for me, that's very satisfying. And then we're playing the one time tearing Morganite. We're not playing hand traps, so I see zero reason why not to play time tearing Morganite. The drawing 2 every turn is insane, and the additional normal summon will occasionally come up because Curry Bandit's not once per turn. You can normal summon 2, and then at the end phase do double excavation. You don't really want to play more than 3 because you won't like. So we're playing 1 because you don't want to brick on it. You don't want to draw multiple. Yes, you can banish it from the graveyard and ditch the one in your hand to stop your opponent's hand traps. But just drawing it later on in the game when you just like really need a Runick card or a Sky Striker card just feels bad. So we're just playing the 1. And like I said, you deep draw a lot in this deck, so it's not really that big of a deal. And then the last 2 spots are single talents and a single thrust. I know a lot of striker decks play triple thrust, but that's also because they're trying to go second, and this deck's not trying to go second. So the idea is that it's just your third copy of Engage, your third copy of Afterburners, and then it can go grab either of these if you want. And Talents is just insane right now because everybody's just activating, you know, hand traps, and you can just draw 2. You can hit a card out of their hand, take control of something to link it away into Zeke. So this card's been absolutely amazing for me. Um, and then we'll move on to side deck. 3 Vanish Fiend. Again, you rarely normal summon. So if Vanish Fiend just outs your opponent's monster, just summon Hugin, do the search, tribute summon Vanish Fiend with a bunch of runic cards to back it up. And then if they do out the Vanish Fiend, you have the striker cards to back that up. 1 Call by the Grave. I usually side this in. So I side this in going first, just in case I hit, various hand traps. If you see it, great. If you don't, oh well. When I do see it, it's been absolutely insane for me, so I keep it in. But maybe you could swap it out for something. Um, 3 Tiki Boo. This card's absolutely insane in this format. It just absolutely dicks over a lot of decks. So um, that's why I play it in here. And yeah, it does like kind of conflict with your Sky Striker engine, but you're just gonna sit on a Shizuku or a Hugin a lot of times, or possibly even like a Moonin, um, just a lot of the time. So yeah, just playing the 1 TCBU, playing flipping TCBU could just be an FTK against a lot of decks right now. And then for the going second cards, I have Pank. Pank, if you're playing Striker, you need to be playing Pank. The card is just a problem solver because you can just special it, run over something, and then pop it. Spell Canceller was really popular. Every time I saw this card, it could out up to 2 cards. So yeah, Pank needs to come back at 3 so I can play 3. Feather Duster, because it's Feather Duster, it's absolutely insane. It blows out a lot of the back row decks. I think it's a mandatory play right now. So 3 Dark Ruler, I think this is like easily the most flexible spot. After we get here, I'm going to go into a section where we can talk about some other cards that you can play. But Dark Ruler right now kind of just shits on. Like there's gonna be a lot of sprite running around. Super heavy's still a deck. Floodgate monsters exist. So this is the best card. And now since we're playing multiple afterburners in the bigger striker engine, uh, I actually like Dark Ruler. Before I didn't really like Dark Ruler because we weren't really picking apart boards. We were just kind of lava goleming over stuff and then just like turtling until we turn the corner. But now with double afterburners, the two girls that can re-grab them, freezing curses and flashing fires, this card's a lot better now. So yeah, that's what I'm testing right now. And then the three evenly matched, since I think there's gonna be a lot more trap decks in the format, especially for Nats. I think if you're not preparing for trap decks, you're just gonna get your back blown out. Now, other considerations, you can add in the thrust, you can add in the other two thrusts or another thrust for when you go second. But like I said, we'll get into other stuff. So let's just quickly go through the extra deck because there's not a lot of explaining to do here. Two Hugin, one Geary because room. There wasn't really room to play a second one, and the one Moonin. You could swap this for the second Geary if you want, but I do like the utility that Moonin brings. One Donner, it's a generic two to get stuff off your field like nib tokens to get if they negate your Curry Bandit, you can go that and Hugin into Donner so you can continue doing your stuff. And then two Hayate. I was on one until I added the Rose. If I drop the Rose, I'm going to go back to one. But since I am playing Rose, I am back on two. You're not going to have your battle phase a lot in this deck, which is why I was playing one before. But like I said, with Rose in the deck, I kind of want two because I want to make it so that I can do the OTK. Three Kagari, it's the best card. One Kaina for time. Two Shizuku. The reason why I was only playing two is because if you notice, I'm not playing cards like Area Zero. I'm not playing Hornet Drones. I'm not playing Shark Cannon. I'm not playing any of those cards. So I'm only going to search off of Shizuku, one or two times. And Curry Bandit will hit these names more than once. So, like, I've never really resolved Shizuku three times in any of my testing. I cut it down to two, and I didn't miss the third at all. Now, maybe I would in a Runic mirror, but the format that we've been in up to this point, I haven't really played a lot of Runic mirrors, and I haven't really played the Striker mirror yet. So, maybe three is important there. If so, I'll probably add it in. And then the double Zeke, I had cut it down to one for a while, and I probably because I wasn't playing either of these, the striker aces, and so I'd cut it down to one, and I just bumped it back up to two because added back in the other two. Um, if you've ever played this deck, you don't need explanation. It unclogs stuff. It allows you to problem solve with problematic creatures. It clears your field. That's important. But as far as I can concern, not Donner. Uh, so this one Hayate, this one Munin, and this second Zeke is so second Hayate, second Zeke, and one Munin are your flex spots. You can swap these three out for whatever you want. And when I get to the other list where we start talking about like some of the options you can play in here instead, then I'll tell you what you can swap in and out. But before we do that, I kind of want to talk about why I'm not playing certain cards. So if you notice, I'm not playing. Let me just put the Sky Striker stuff. I've been debating siding jamming waves again since there's a lot more back row decks and no one's really expecting it. But I don't know. You kind of like show yourself like it's really easy to play around if they know you have it. So maybe not, but I am debating siding one. Um, and then I'm not playing Area Zero. I'm not playing Shark Cannons. I'm not playing Hornet Drums. I'm not playing Eagle Booster. I mean, who's playing Eagle Booster anymore? And I'm not playing the third multi-roll. The third multi-roll is self-explanatory. Everyone will tell you two is probably the correct if you're trying to go first. One's correct if you're going second. You don't want to brick on it going second. I'm not playing Shark Cannon. Um, you know, it's pretty good, especially if you're playing against branded, because you can banish the gimmick puppet, and so there's some reason to maybe side it. But in this build, especially since I'm going first, I really don't want to. I really don't want to play it. There's not really room for it. It's not providing any utility that I don't already have and I can't really cover. I'm not trying to OTK with it, so I just decided to cut it. But it is a very good side option. Um, Hornet Drones is not a Sky Striker card as much as people want to tell you. This is everything else card. It's a Sky Striker card as long as it's at one, but the second it goes to anything more than one, you're going to start seeing it teched into just a lot of bullshit. The token does nothing for you. 90% of the time, I never actually activated this card or drew it and was happy about it. The only time I ever searched it, like, is when I opened Engage and had two spells engraved, and I would just go engage for Hornet Drones Kagari, add back, add back the engage, and then engage draw one. And that was really the only time I would actually want Hornet Drones. But 90% of the time, Linkage just does in this deck what Hornet Drones wants to, but better. Um, so yeah, it's just not great in this deck. So I finally cut it. Maybe that's a mistake, but hey, whatever. I don't think it's correct in this version. And then because we don't really need to get to these guys. These guys are not like the Sky Striker Link monsters aren't your win condition in this deck. So if you don't get to this engine, it's not the end of the world, and you can stall it out for a little bit. And then we don't play Area Zero because we can't risk Runick Fountain not having Runick Fountain up. So there's really no reason to play Area Zero in this deck. There's not much to hit to sack off of it. And since we're playing a smaller Sky Striker engine, you're not going to hit very often to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to where is it? It is Sky Striker Runic. Yes, right here. So if you notice, the main deck's the same, but I've kind of like jumbled up the thing, and this is like some of the cards you can play. So obviously you have the cards I am playing: Vanish Fiend, Called by, TQBoo, Pank, Duster, Dark Ruler, Evenly. But some of the other cards you can play, and I've tested some of these, is Cosmic Cyclone for the matchup for the mirror, either of the mirrors, honestly, and the Labyrinth mirror. You have Dimensional Fissure, which this deck does not care about these monsters going to the graveyard. Like if you're siding 3D Fissure, just take out your Sky Strikers. Like the Ray and the Rose, because again, you don't need them. That's not the point of the deck. And maybe I should have went over what the point of the deck is first, but it will make sense. But yeah, we don't care if any of these monsters get banished. So D Fissure can deal stuff like Droll, and as well as like against super heavy, it's kind of just an FTK against them because they can't. They, none of their stuff like their pendulum monsters go to banish zone. The regular monsters don't get effects when they go to the graveyard. Um, they're forced to waste something to out it, and so it's a very good consideration. I was doing two Fiend and two Fissure, but I just found that Fiend was better than Fissure, so I made the swap over to three Fiends. But you can definitely play Fissure if you like it or your locals. Um, and then you can play hand traps, though you can't really play a lot. All you need to do is side out the Morganite going second, and then you can add in whatever hand traps you want. I like very impactful hand traps, so my choice would be like Nib and Droll and Lockbird. Like turn ending hand traps. Um, and I tried that for a while where my side consisted of Droll and Lock, Nib, and then the Gamma package. And I would play, and then whenever I go second, I just take out the Time Tearing Morganite and added it in whatever package I thought was best. So I drop like the three Curry Bandit, the Time Tearing Morganite, the Talents, and then like probably one of the Destructions, and then bring in those hand traps going second, and that's a good option. Just because you're playing Morganite in the main doesn't mean you can't side your hand traps. And then other options are the Bestials. Again, you're gonna have to take out your Morganite if you're gonna play these, but they can if it's really impactful this format and you think it's really gonna help. Morganite's great, but blowout cards are better. So, you know, don't be afraid to put hand traps in your side or cards that activate. And then we have Cyber Dragon. So this kind of is for if Spell Canceller is really heavy in the format. So prior to the ban list being announced and there being a lot of super heavy, I was playing Cyber Dragon in my side along with Chimera Tech and Chaos Angel. And what you would do is they do their board, and then you would Chimera Tech, you'd special Cyber Dragon, and then you'd link away, you contact fuse away their Regulus and their spell canceller into Fortress Dragon, and then you would summon Hugin and wouldn't activate her effects so that like Baron couldn't destroy her. And since this is a level 8 dark and this is a level 2 light, you can then go into Chaos Angel that's unaffected by monster effects and banish something. And it was kind of just a blowout for the matchup because they couldn't get over it, and and it just kind of cleaned up their field for the price of a single Cyber Dragon and one Runic card. You just completely clear their field. And so that was kind of my tech. It gets super heavy, but since the ban list got announced, I don't see a lot of spell canceller running around, so I kind of took it out. But if spell canceller becomes a problem again, your boy's gonna put that shit right back in. And then you can play, additional copies, like a second copy of Morganite in your side if you're wanting to go first and you just really want to see it. It's just that's really important for the grindy matchups. It's important for flu. It's important for other striker variants. It's good for the runic mirrors. It's good for control decks. Just seeing Morganite really helps you turn that corner. So siding the second Morganite is always an option. And then skill drain. If you're going first and skill drain blows out your opponent, just take out the curry bandits and put in skill drain. Like, yeah, these things won't trigger, but like, who the fuck cares? If it ends your opponent's turns, you can live off the back of your runic cards. Just play runic stun. And so skill drain is easily the weakest of the floodgates that you can play, because again, it does kind of fuck with your sky striker cards, but honestly, it's really not that big of a deal. Um, like I said, if it just fucks your local meta and causes them to end their turn or in multiple turns and they can't out it, that's just it's worth not having part of your engine turned off to turn off their entire engine. And then going to the extra deck, you have all the copies I was talking about. And since there is 3 available slots, you can play an access code package of a Charmer, a Celine, and the access code talker. Your biggest problem here is going to be getting the Charmer on the field because there's not a lot of monsters here. You need to put 2 monsters, so you'd have to do like a Hugin or one of the Sky Striker cards plus a Curry Bandit or one of the girls. Um, I find the easiest way to do it is with Hugin, hence why I have the Light Charmer in here, but you can play the Dark Charmer if you want, if you find that's just the easier of the two to get. And it's just a good way to close out the game real quickly. And then access code in Striker is insane, as everyone probably already knows. And then the last card I have in here is Freaky. I don't know how to spell his name. If you're really like leaning on the decking out your opponent, this card can come in clutch. He's got a 2,000 attack, which is actually kind of hard to get over for a lot of decks. And every time he attacks, you banish the top 2 cards of the deck, so you could really just start eating away their decks faster. And then if he gets destroyed by battle card effect, you can add one of these back to your hand. So he has relevant effects. Um, and he's the weakest of the 4, but yeah, he does he you can play him. He's not bad. So let's go ahead and get into the section of where we talk about the point of playing the deck and how to play the deck. And so I'm going to go back to to when I talked about Magic. If you've ever played Magic, you've probably heard of a deck called Blue White Control, which is a very slow based deck that's about controlling the board, making meaningful 1-for-1 trades or 2-for-1 trades with your opponent, and simplifying the game state, and then winning with your better top decks. And so I took that idea and I applied it to Yu-Gi-Oh! And I said, what deck does that the best? And so I kind of came up with this brew. The idea is we want to trade meaningful 1-for-1s with our opponent and sometimes even 2-for-1s with our opponent, and to simplify the game state and then beat them through our better cards. Because the average card in this deck is so much better than the average card in, say, Labyrinth or Sprite. Like if you get to a point where both are top decking, like they're top decking, you're top decking, you're winning the game. Period. And so and so that's kind of the idea is you want to control the flow of the game and you want to make sure that they play to your pace. And now I'm not saying let's slow play. Yes, this deck is a very slow and grindy matchup, but if your opponent wants to spend 40 minutes game one trying to outgrind you, that's their own damn fault. They can lose in time. All right? the, you'll know when you turn the corner when your opponent's basically making one or two plays every turn and you're able to just stop whatever they're doing. You're just you're activating slumber on lava golem so it can't attack. um what's it called? You're and so they're just stuck there burning for 1,000 every turn, or anytime you summon you pop it, and you're just constantly recycling Hugin so they can never actually make any damage through, and you're drawing 3 to 4 or 5 cards every single turn because you're drawing off of Morganite and you're drawing off of Fountain and you're drawing off of Disengage, and you're taking their monsters and linking them away with Widow Anchor. You've turned the corner and your opponent can't win. And what I do is when I've turned that corner, I can do one of two things. I can try to kill through a combo like the linkage OTK, or the access code to OTK, or you can deck them out. And I find that I win most of my games through deck out. And what I'll do is, I'll have a hand of like 6 cards, and I'll have to be discarding almost every turn. And so I'll just start firing these Runick cards off on whatever legal target because you've thinned out your deck. You've after you've gone through all your Curry Bandit, you've gone through your Lava Golems, you've gone through most of the Sky Striker. Most of those are in play, so your deck's mostly Runick cards. So you can proceed to activate a tip every turn and a slumber and a freezing curse and a flashing fire every turn to hit anywhere from 3 to like 10 cards off the top of your opponent's deck every single turn. And if your opponent doesn't know to scoop whenever I'm just like activating 3 Runick cards to hit 9 cards out of their deck every turn, if they don't want to scoop thin, then it's their own damn fault we're going to time. It's not my fault. And then if you really want to be that guy, you can play the dog, the ghost sister and spooky wood inside the or dogwood inside the side, um, or the other one, ghost mourner. You can play this just to guarantee that you are gonna win in time. But you more than likely have gained life points off of Moonin or gained life points off of Kaina. You're probably up because you've poked with Hayate or one of these guys and they've burned off a lava golem a couple times. So you're probably up on life points no matter what. And if your opponent's probably paid life points to do something. Um, so like you're gonna win in time. So it's in your opponent's advantage to not win in time. And how blue white control in Magic works is once it's referred to as turning the corner when the game is now completely in your control, when they're playing at your pace and there's basically no top deck in the game that can save them. That is turning the corner. And when this deck turns the corner, um, it feels real good because you're just not going to lose. And recognizing when it's time to turn the corner is the hardest part of the deck. You know, like I said, when you get your opponent down to 1 to 2 cards in hand, and they got nothing left in their deck to out you, the game's pretty much sealed. And that's when you just start randomly firing these things off, or you start trying to poke with these guys to go for game. Um, it's kind of just, how do I put this? It's just something you kind of have to feel. And the hardest part of this deck isn't that you need to master this, of which you do. What you actually need to do is master every deck. You need to know what's in every deck. You need to be like, what do they have that is threatening to me? And so when I sit down and I deciding whether I want to activate a card or if I want to just let something resolve, you have to be thinking, will this kill me? If the answer is yes, then you need to stop it. And if it's answered no, just let it go through, especially if you're kind of lowish on resources. On top of the other answer is if I stop this, will it in their turn? Then yes, stop it. But if it doesn't, don't. You know, you don't have to put them on habit. Like a lot of decks say, just we'll just put them on habit, and that's smart. That's something you got. That's something that you should do. You should just put your opponent on just habit. Sometimes they'll win you more games than it'll lose you. But if you if you put your opponent on just have it, since this deck is slower, there's a higher likelihood they are gonna have it. So if you can just in their turn, don't risk trying to stop something and you know that if they have, certain extenders, they'll be able to extend past it. You're wasting resources. You don't want to this is all about resource management. And if you can't resource manage, then this is probably not the deck for you. Other than that, you should, if you're interested in like trying to really learn this deck, 90% of the battle is learning everyone else's deck. If you know what strike, if you know, if you know what Sprite does in every Sprite build, and you know what Cash does in every Cash build, then you're gonna know where to stop them. And since this deck has many very different ways to stop them, uh, then then learning those matchups is the most important thing with involving this deck. Side note: if your opponent summons Chaos Max on you, you kind of just lose. There's not really an out in the deck for it. I only know this because I had someone summon Chaos Max on me at a locals once, and yeah, I just lost because I didn't have a out to it. I was hoping he would summon an out to it, and I'd Widow Anchor the out. Didn't happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and take us over here to. I'm gonna take us over to the duel room and go to single solo mode. Um, and we're gonna go to 7 and we're gonna go to solo mode, and I'm gonna show you some of the little tricks you can do with this. So like linkage is one of the best cards of the deck, so we're just gonna put back some of this stuff, and I'm just gonna grab some of the cool cards you can do. So let me grab some Curry Bandit. Let me grab, this, and then I don't know, do another Curry Bandit. So I'm not saying this is your opening hand. I'll just show you some stuff you can do. So you can do stuff like, during your draw phase, of which you should be playing your draw phase. Freezing Curses, Summon Hugin, um, Grave, declare the effective Hugin, ditch a card in your hand. If your opponent then proceeds to chain Imperm or anything that targets it, you can chain your linkage and then send this to the graveyard, summon your Shizuku, and then resolve your Hugin to go get the field spell. This is a play I do a lot, especially as the format progresses and we're seeing less hand traps, like less Ash, because everybody's trying to play around main deck triple talents, which is really big right now. Main deck triple talents. Um, Fountain has they're playing a lot of imperm, and they're playing more ones that actually target. And so as those add, linkage just gets better and better by being able to just do stuff like that. So let's go ahead and put these back in our hand. And if you didn't open great, you can, instead of going into Shizuku, you can go into the Kaina to just re-add back the linkage if you want. Some other stuff you can do is like here. I'll put these back into the extra deck. Two top deck, two top deck, two top deck. So if you open like Fountain and Curry Bandit, even if you have a hand of other Runick cards, like say this and then just a bunch of Runick cards, like you can, hand, 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 something like that. You can go, engage or multi-roll Fountain, this whatever. This is kind of insane. This is like the best possible hand. But like something like this, you can just go straight to your main phase, activate Fountain, summon Curry Bandit, and then in phase activate Curry Bandit. Go ahead and excavate 5. Go ahead and add anything to your hand. So like in this example, because I have a runic tip in my hand, I might be willing to grab this like Morganite, and we're in the end phase because that's when Curry Bandit triggers. So still in the end phase, activate the tip, go grab Flashing Fire, then and then still in the end phase, declare and bottom deck, bottom deck, draw three. And so Curry Bandit Fountain turned into Fountain plus 7 cards in hand. And you can do other stuff like this. Like if you did have the multi roll, let's reset this. That's pretty good. Let's go top of deck, top of deck. Let's say you instead open, hand, hand, multi-roll, and you can go, the fountain, the multi-roll, the curry bandit, in phase, grave, excavate, sorry, mill 5. And then say you hit this widow anchor. I didn't. Let's say you hit this widow anchor, you can then, add widow anchor back to hand, activate the widow anchor targeting, if you have, the Hugin out on the field, because you use that to search fountain, activate, and then set it right there without having to do Shizuku. You can do stuff like that. Use multi-roll to set it. Some of the other insane stuff you can do is if you open up really nuts and you open up, special summon attack, and you open up linkage, you know, you milled your 5. You have another runic card in your hand. Doesn't matter. Like slumber. You can go, Curry Bandit Grave, excavate your 5 spells, add, you know, this Widow Anchor, and then add this Widow Anchor, activate. It would be the other one. Bottom deck them. Oh, slash draw 3. Draw your 3, and then if you draw into linkage, you can go away your linkage for this one, and then Shizuku effect to add the Widow Anchor, and then activate the Widow Anchor targeting Shizuku, and then activate the multi roll to set this. All off of Fountain multi roll Curry Bandit. Um, that's like the best case scenario right there. But we ended with Shizuku, so we got our Sky Striker engine, we had our Widow Anchor, we have our multi roll, we have our Fountain, and we have 3 spells in the graveyard. Like Curry Bandit sets this deck up. I'm really trying to sell him on y'all. Let's ignore that he loses to pretty much every hand trap in the game. And so this is that's the reason I play him. And the only reason why I'm talking about this is because a lot of people don't like Curry Bandit. He's a card from like 2016, I think. I get it. I get why you don't like him. I just disagree with you. I think he's great. I love Curry Bandit, and I'm going to keep playing him. But yeah, that's like one of the major plays you can do in this deck. Um, Other than that, it's just normal runic stuff, trading meaningful 1-for-1s with your opponent. You know, not forgetting to draw off of the biggest one is not forgetting to draw off of Morganite. And then if you have resolved Morganite, like I said earlier, you can normal summon 2 Curry Bandits and do it twice. Oh, mill 10. It doesn't actually work like this. It does 5-1, then 5-1. No, mill 10. Hand, draw 3. But yeah, that's kind of the power of the deck. It creates this really powerful resource loop that is really hard to stop in its tracks. And once it gets going, it gets going. And honestly, the setup is the hardest part because it takes a turn to set up, and that's really dangerous in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays. So that's kind of why I like Curry Bandit. And I've heard people say you should play Reasoning. Um, no, Reasoning and Monster Gate are not good because there's only one of each. If there was 3, you possibly could play Reasoning. You would have to drop Curry Bandit for it, but you're basically showing your opponent your entire deck to foolish a bunch of spells and rows. I don't think it's very good, but it is a consideration if you're playing. Please ignore the runic for hire. I'm currently trying to learn this deck. But yeah, that's Runic Sky Striker. That is my simplified and free-formed, very obviously free-formed guide on how to play the deck. The idea behind it, the thought. Again, it's a lot like blue white control in Magic. If you played it, it makes sense. If it doesn't, you know, look into that. Like seriously, learn from other card games. You don't have to just play Yu-Gi-Oh. Take notes from other games. Go look into control theory and Magic, and you can learn a lot on how to play decks like this and how to meaningfully trade with your opponent and just out resource grind them, get your engine going, and then let your opponent make the mistake of taking you into time because it won't end well for them. I've won a lot of my games because my opponent thought they could win game one. Hardest games are when your opponent knows that you've turned the corner and just scoops. And if they do, great, that's the win con. The win con is your opponent being smart enough to know when they lose. And if they're not smart enough to know when they lose, then you'll punish them in time. But yeah, that's basically it. Again, it's not a deck about stalling for time. It's really not. But unfortunately, if you do play this, you are going to go into time. That's why I would not take it to an event until you master it. Once you master it, you can play quickly enough that you won't go into time, and you'll play quickly enough to really you'll play quickly enough that you'll give your opponent the chance to actually like make meaningful response. But yeah, if you got any questions, please let me know. Drop a like, drop a subscribe, hit your boy up on Twitter. Tell me I'm an asshole for playing this stall deck. It's not a stall deck, but whatever. And tell me that I gave you a wrong ruling on how something works. And honestly, if you got suggestions, let me know. But that's it for now. Thank you if you stuck around this long. Have a good night.